Welcome to Cox San Diego Connection. Today's topic is giving, specifically the season of giving. This is a time of the year when we think about family and sharing what we have. It's also the time when many people reflect and consider doing things for others, the less fortunate. Our first guest is someone who truly is doing quite a bit to help fellow man, especially those without a place to call home. He is interim San Diego Mayor, Council President, and District 3 Council Member Todd Gloria. Boy, you've worn a lot of hats this year. How will you write your end of the year summary to friends and family? How do you describe your 2013?
It's been a bit chaotic, but all's well that ends well, right? And we had a very difficult year, but I appreciate the opportunity now to serve in the mayor's office. And we're spending a lot of time cleaning up things at City Hall. And I look forward actually to my 2014 message will be that we turned over the mayor's office to the next occupant better than I found it.
Wow. Now, you have this huge passion for the homeless, to help them out, as we all should. Where does that come from? Where does that passion to help these people come from?
Well, I appreciate you noticing, because that's been sort of the central focus of my professional career. I just happen to think that, as a human being, I have a concern for those who are living on our streets. And in San Diego region, we have about 10,000 folks who identify as homeless. I believe that my job is to try and help build America's finest city. That's our daily objective. And I don't think we can quite do that if we have folks who are living unsheltered. And then from a taxpayer perspective, our approach of really leaving folks on the streets, having them rely on public safety emergency services for their health care and for other needs is incredibly inefficient and very expensive. And so there are better ways to do this. And that's why I've spent my time both before I was in office and in office working on this issue.
Now, the winter shelter, for example, was no longer just a winter shelter. It stayed open pretty much all year. We have the new facility downtown. How is that going, and how is that helping out?
Well, the new facility, which is Connections Housing, really takes the city's approach for the winter tents of really seem to only care about the homeless for 16 weeks a year to a 52-week-a-year approach. And I think that's more reflective of the fact that I think San Diegans do care about the homeless every day of the year. And so that's been a game changer. But those are the big projects. We have a lot of small projects in the communities, things like donation stations, which are parking meters that are converted into donation stations where you can, instead of giving money to someone along the side of the road, put that money and know that you're giving with confidence to something that actually ends homelessness. So we have a lot of big and small things that we're working on, all of it with the goal in mind of trying to end homelessness in downtown San Diego by 2016.
On another front, and with the season of giving upon us, San Diego gave its residents a huge gift with the library downtown. A lot of people said it wasn't going to happen. How did it come about, and how was it that we got those doors open after so many years?
Well, it's the word that you said, actually, giving. That project was 38% funded through philanthropy. And these are individual donors, about 3,000 of them, who all wrote checks to help fund this. Of course, with help from the city and the redevelopment agency and our school district. But that was what really allowed us to get across the finish line, to take this dream that we had for 30 years and make it a reality. And so I have to tell you, it is the most amazing thing. If you go down there, you see that it's full, teeming with life, senior citizens, children, everyone in between, all enjoying that facility. We had about 8,000 folks go through the doors in the first 2 days. So San Diegans are embracing this facility, and it's there because they wrote the check. They said, I want to give to this effort, that we are a big city and we should have a world-class public library, and we now do.
Speaking of donors, Joan and Erwin Jacobs are huge. They've been helping out, and they've provided some money to keep it going for the next couple of years. But what do we need to do as a city to keep it going forever?
Well, you are exactly right. Joan and Erwin Jacobs are incredible philanthropists, not just for the Central Library, but through causes really throughout the community, and they certainly inspire all of us to do what we can in our own ways to give. With regard to the Central Library, they have, along with another donor, made a commitment to help fund the operations of it for the first 5 years. That's going to give us the time to continue with the fiscal discipline that we have put in place at City Hall, that are taking deficits and turning them into surpluses. And so it's my belief that if we maintain that fiscally disciplined path, that we will be able to replace the funds that Joan and Erwin and others are giving to run the place and allow it to stay open. And in fact, as the interim mayor, it is my expectation to be able to propose the next fiscal year's budget, and it's my expectation that we'll be able to grow library hours, not just at the Central Library, but at every branch library. And again, that's a reflection of the fact that our city finances are strengthening.
Talk about those libraries spread around the city. I know the focal point or the jewel of the library system is a central library, but what are we doing to help out the libraries around San Diego? Places like Normal Heights, Hillcrest, San Ysidro perhaps?
Well, we're doing a lot actually, and you may have seen that recently I've proposed for the Council's consideration a $120 million infrastructure bond. That includes projects of all types, but it includes several libraries. Libraries for the Mission Hills Hillcrest community, for the Skyline community, for San Ysidro, for San Carlos. We have built this wonderful central library, and that helps strengthen the entire system, but now we need to invest in our branch libraries. If you go to the new Logan Heights Library, it's magnificent. The Serra Mesa Kearny Mesa Library, magnificent. And we're going to replicate those in other parts of the community. It's a part of an overall strategy of investing in our neighborhoods and helping maintain that high quality of life that we enjoy as San Diegans.
Okay, well, time's flying by, so we'll stay with us. Don't go away. We'll continue our conversation with Todd when we return in just a few moments, so please stay with us.
Join Cox and Kixie 96.5 for Holiday of Miracles, benefiting Rady Children's Hospital, San Diego. Your gift will make a difference all year long. Stop by any Cox Solutions store to donate a new unwrapped toy, or visit Kixie.com to learn other ways to give and a complete list of events in your community. Together, we can give the true gift of making miracles happen this season. Happy holidays from Cox and Kixie 96.5.
I can't wait to make new friends, to go on an adventure, to explore new worlds, to have fun. I can't wait to be a Girl Scout. Start the fun now. Join Girl Scouts today at joingirlscouts.com.
Welcome back to Cox San Diego Connection. We've been talking about the season of giving with San Diego Interim Mayor Todd Gloria. We're on the subject of libraries. In your district, District 3, Mission Hills Hillcrest Library is about to become a reality. What's the status of that project?
Well, when the City Council approves my proposal for a $120 million infrastructure bond, we will have the last piece of funding we need to actually construct that facility. My constituents who drive on Washington Street have seen that banner out at front in Washington promising a library, and it's soon to be a reality. And going with the theme of giving, this project will be funded in part by the city, but also through the generous contribution of two donors for about $10 million. And this facility will replace the outdated Mission Hills Library that's really too small for that growing community, and build a flagship-sized library with all the current amenities, a community meeting room, a teen space, and all that kind of stuff. And it'll be right there on Washington Street for another 100 years for people to enjoy. We hope to break ground in late 2014 and have it open sometime in late 2016.
You know, donors, we think about, well, I don't have the money for it, but all of us can help out, right? Is that something you would encourage? All of us can do something for our libraries and for our city in general.
Absolutely. Well, you know, as I mentioned with the Central Library, you know, obviously a tremendous help from Joan and Erwin Jacobs and other wealthy philanthropists, but that project was brought to fruition by 3,000 San Diegans. There were people at the Joan and Erwin Jacobs level and at the Todd Gloria level, all of who wrote checks. And all of us collectively can do great things. I mean, I think that we've seen that back on that homeless issue where, you know, whether folks are choosing to go down and serve a meal at Father Joe's, or perhaps serve as a peer advocate for someone who's working with addiction, all of us can make a contribution, and it's not just about money, it can also be about time.
Oh, I don't think the Todd Gloria level's that low. You're doing all right. So, as you travel throughout the city and you visit with people, are San Diegans collectively a giving bunch? You get that sense?
Absolutely. You know, that's one of the great things I think about our city is that we are the 8th largest city in the country, but in many ways we're still a small town in terms of our psychology, and we do care about one another. You know, we recently celebrated the 10th anniversary of the 2003 fires, and that event was a difficult event for our community, but that was when we saw some of our best and brightest, because San Diegans were opening their homes to people who lost their homes. We saw firefighters fighting the fire while their own homes were being burned down. We are a giving people, and that's what makes us special. That is very much a critical ingredient in what makes us America's finest city.
If you Google Todd Gloria images, there's thousands that come up, and there's one that where you're doing the heart.
Yes.
And it says working together. What do you mean by that?
Well, that was a part of a social media effort around AIDS Walk San Diego. Another great example of giving, where thousands of San Diegans come together once a year for the largest single-day fundraising effort for HIV and AIDS service providers in our community. And that's another example of where, I individually may not be able to do a whole lot, but when I'm out there on the walk with thousands of others, we can raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to improve the lives of folks who may be having a difficult patch. And so, yeah, working together, we can get big things done. That was true at the Central Library. It was true with AIDS Walk. It'll be true with a lot of stuff as we look forward to 2014.
As we discuss San Diego and the season of giving, and it doesn't have to be by writing a check, it could be advice or volunteering or an act of kindness. What is something that a total stranger has done for you that you always remember or take with you wherever you go?
Well, in this role, people have been incredibly generous to me. As I walk about, my neighborhood or grab a cup of coffee in the morning, people just kind of take a moment often and just kind of give me an attaboy and say, hey, we know you've been dealt kind of a tough hand, and thanks for what you're doing. And that means a lot to me. And then obviously that doesn't cost anything, but gives me the strength to go back down to City Hall and make some of the tough choices I'm having to make. So I really appreciate it. You mentioned different ways people can give. I would tell another way that's really critical is mentoring. I've had the great benefit in my life of having a lot of great mentors. Again, that's not really something that costs anything, but if someone can express the interest in a child and help them to see what they can become. In my life, I met Congresswoman Susan Davis when I was 13 years old. She wasn't a congresswoman, I wasn't an interim mayor, but she saw something in me, made a long-term investment of her time and her interests, and I hope the dividend is really for the benefit of the whole city because she believed in me at a young age.
Mm-hmm. With the season of giving, as you walk away from the interim mayorship that you've had, the role, what advice would you give the incoming mayor? Not that you're telling anybody what to do, but what advice would you have for whoever does win the election?
Well, maybe two things. One sort of philosophical, the other one more specific. The job is unfortunately, it's a tough job, and it's a lot about saying no to folks. In order to maintain that fiscal discipline that's allowing us to expand library hours, a lot of folks are knocking on that door and they want something or another, and unfortunately, you have to disappoint a lot of people and say, I'm sorry, but that's just not in the best interest of the city. So that's been a surprising thing for me, but I think it's true. With regard to what they need to focus on, it is our neighborhood infrastructure. The city has a lot of challenges. We also have a lot of strengths, but the challenge that concerns me most is what we're doing about our roads, our sidewalks, our public facilities. Those have been neglected for far too long, and the next mayor is really going to have to take that issue on aggressively. I'm doing what I can while I'm here with the neighborhood bond that I'm offering in January, but much more will need to be done, and they're going to need to tackle that aggressively if we want to maintain our quality of life and be competitive in a global economy.
I don't know you very well, quite honestly, but from what I've seen, you're very humble, you're a very caring individual with the qualities that perhaps a lot of us were looking in a mayor. Why didn't you run for mayor?
Yeah. Well, I think what you're picking up on is that I'm the son of a maid and a gardener, and as I've joked, who better to clean up City Hall than someone with that background? But what I made a decision was that, this summer we faced a tremendous crisis in the city. And the crisis involved much more than allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct. It really pervaded the entire city infrastructure. And I thought what the city right now needed was a full-time mayor, not someone who was going to spend most of their time campaigning. And so I just looked at it and made the decision that, I could have done two things poorly, being a mayor and a candidate, or I could have did one thing really well, which was to be mayor. And so that's what I've chosen to do. When I go back, when this all ends in March, I'll go back to being council president, and that's a pretty good gig too, and it'll still allow me to do what I can to make us America's finest city.
Wow. What lies ahead for Todd Gloria, and not just the politician, but what lies ahead for Todd Gloria, the San Diegan, as you travel through life?
I don't know. I often tell people I'm surprised to be in this position. I'm the city's first Native American, Filipino, Puerto Rican, Dutch gay guy who's mayor, right? And it's not necessarily the most likely thing to have happened. So I've just been really fortunate to kind of just lead with what I'm interested in, and it goes back to dealing with issues about affordable housing and homelessness, really caring about folks who are struggling in this economy, and I'll continue to do that work either in elected office or outside of it. One thing I can say with certainty is I'll always be here because I love this city. I'm a third-generation San Diegan. I feel blessed to have grown up here, and I want to stay here and do everything I can to make it a great city.
Well, thank you, and that's exactly what you've been doing. Thanks for your work. Appreciate it. All right. Now, in a few moments, we'll meet someone who is working every day to make sure our children have the best in medical care available in a time of an emergency. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Cox and Kixie 96.5 for Holiday of Miracles, benefiting Rady Children's Hospital, San Diego. Your gift will make a difference all year long. Stop by any Cox Solutions store to donate a new unwrapped toy, or visit Kixie.com to learn other ways to give and a complete list of events in your community. Together, we can give the true gift of making miracles happen this season. Happy holidays from Cox and Kixie 96.5.
You're watching Cox San Diego Connection. The topic is the season of giving. Perhaps the best way to spread good cheer is by helping others, especially children. Our next guest is doing just that by heading up the Rady Children's Hospital Foundation. He is none other than Steve Jennings. Welcome, sir.
Good to see you.
Chances are most people have heard of Children's Hospital, but not necessarily the foundation. How do you guys work hand in hand?
Well, we're very closely connected. The foundation is really the not-for-profit arm of the hospital, and our main goal is to raise philanthropic dollars to support the activities of the hospital.
And where does that money go to?
You know, it goes to a wide array of things. Everything from clinical care, which is really where we focus a lot of our funding, to support the kids. And right now we're doing a lot of things around technology and innovation. For instance, we've got these great robots that can travel around, and you can have a doctor who sits remotely and can actually assess and evaluate kids from any place, literally in the world. And I know that Cox Communications has been really helpful and supportive in that kind of technology. We also are working a lot with autistic children, and we have these iPads with applications that allow the autistic kids to learn and communicate in a way that traditionally developing kids aren't able to do. So it's a great help for those kids. So a lot of the money is going to innovation. It's also going to traditional clinical care. Everything from new MRI machines to making sure that our operating rooms and our trauma centers have the best possible technology and the best possible facilities.
It must be great knowing you're helping kids. How do you describe your job when somebody goes, "Hey, Steve, what do you do for a living?"
Well, first I say I have one of the best jobs in the world, right? I get to work with doctors and nurses and volunteers and staff who are committed to one thing, and they're committed to the health of the kids of San Diego. We see a lot of really challenging cases at Rady Children's Hospital, but everybody comes at the work with real passion, a real commitment to excellence, and it's just wonderful to see the way that the kids are treated. They come in and they are treated like an adult in the sense of they're engaged with, they work with the families, and we always try to do the utmost in for the care for the kids.
Since we're talking about the season of giving, what would you say is a reason we should all help? Maybe not just Rady Children's Hospital Foundation, but in general, why we should all get involved and help out.
You know, I've committed my life to philanthropy in a way. I believe that philanthropy and volunteerism are two of the highest callings that we as human beings can aspire to. And this idea that we take some time every year to really think about the world outside of ourselves, and we can reach in and give something, whether it's time or whether it's money, give something back to our community. And I particularly like the focus to be around the health of children, because I think that's one of our most important resources.
When someone does help out, the Children's Hospital Foundation, for example, it doesn't have to be a check with a lot of zeros, right? You take anything that comes your way.
Oh, you bet. And you know, we just finished an event recently called Kids News Day, where the community of San Diego gets an opportunity to, you give $1 to buy a paper, and that dollar goes to support the Children's Hospital. So even that dollar makes a difference. And the community of San Diego came together this year, and just through selling those papers, we raised almost $100,000 to help the kids at the hospital. So it doesn't really matter the amount. To me, it's really about the intent and the passion to give back to our community.
This time of the year, you guys are involved in some very worthwhile projects, and Cox is a part of it. The Holiday of Miracles campaign. Cox helps collects toys, supports programs, collects, funds a little money for you guys. Tell me about the Holiday of Miracles campaign that you guys have coming up.
Right, so we've got this great partnership with 96.5 where we do a radiothon for 2 days in December 12th and 13th. And it's an opportunity for during the day from I think 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. The focus is really about Rady Children's Hospital. They play a little music in between, but they also get an opportunity to educate the community about the things that we're doing at Rady Children's Hospital. And they actually do broadcast remotely from us. And it's an opportunity for everybody in the community to give back. And so they'll be telling you ways to give during that period of time. But it's a great way to spend a couple of days listening and learning about Rady Children's Hospital.
Fantasy on Ice, tell us about that.
Fantasy on Ice is a great event. This has been done for a number of years, and it's really run by the Rady Children's Auxiliary, who's a great support to us. And it's down at Horton Center near Horton Plaza. And every year from November 21st until January 5th, there's an ice rink that you can come down and skate, and everybody can come down and skate. And we really encourage the kids while they're skating to wear helmets. But everybody can come down and have a great time, and the proceeds then go to support Rady Children's Hospital.
A lot of people, or some people sometimes are leery of contributing to good foundations or projects because they're, the money may not go to where it's intended to go. How would you assure people that any contribution will go to the kids of San Diego for Rady Children's Hospital?
Well, the nice thing about the Rady Children's Hospital Foundation is that when you make a gift to support the children, it's 100 pennies on every dollar goes directly to that program. And in many cases, people will direct their funds to a specific program. Maybe they want to support the Autism Center, maybe they want to support other things, but it's 100 pennies on every dollar. So we're funded by different means, but we're not funded by philanthropic dollars, which makes the ability for us to direct 100% of those costs to the things to help the kids.
Great. Thank you. A lot of good stuff happening with you guys. Thanks, and welcome to San Diego. I know you've only been here for a couple months.
Yeah, I've only been here a couple months, but I love it. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thanks for the work you do for our kids.
You bet.
All right. Now, in a few moments, we'll be back and hear about the Make-A-Wish Foundation in San Diego. There's a few things you probably didn't know about it, things that might surprise you. Please stay with us.
Join Cox and Kixie 96.5 for Holiday of Miracles, benefiting Rady Children's Hospital, San Diego. Your gift will make a difference all year long. Stop by any Cox Solutions store to donate a new unwrapped toy, or visit Kixie.com to learn other ways to give and a complete list of events in your community. Together, we can give the true gift of making miracles happen this season. Happy holidays from Cox and Kixie 96.5.
I can't wait to make new friends, to go on an adventure, to explore new worlds, to have fun. I can't wait to be a Girl Scout. Start the fun now. Join Girl Scouts today at joingirlscouts.com.
As we move along with this edition of Cox San Diego Connection, we turn our attention to a group most of you have heard about. It's the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It makes dreams come true. It makes it happen because a lot of good people have gotten involved. It's folks like Chris Sitchell, President and CEO of the Make-A-Wish Foundation here in San Diego. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am well. Pleased to be here.
Okay, tell us about the foundation and what's it like to make someone's dream come true?
Make-A-Wish started in 1980 just with a group of officers wanting to make a young boy who was very sick, give him a very special day because he had always wanted to be a police officer. From those very humble beginnings, they got together afterwards, and there was so much magic there that they said, we could do this for other kids who are sick. Make-A-Wish San Diego started shortly after that, and we are celebrating our 30th year right now. And I think to grant a wish to a child with a life-threatening illness, it's inspiring. We get to do something that no one else does, because we often hear from families and from the kids themselves that when they had their diagnosis of a life-threatening illness, all of a sudden life was very dark and your life was about your next doctor's appointment and pain and uncertainty. And then Make-A-Wish came in and encouraged that child to dream and to think about a future. And it was as if a light got turned on in their life, and all of a sudden they could see a future, and there was something to be happy about and something to talk about more than just the next doctor's appointment or the surgery that they might be facing.
And there's some misconceptions of Make-A-Wish. I myself did not understand or know everything about us. Tell us about some of the things that people probably don't understand or get about Make-A-Wish.
Yes. Make-A-Wish grants wishes to children with life-threatening illnesses. So if a child's at least 2.5 and before their 18th birthday and they're referred and they have a life-threatening illness, then they get a wish. And many people still think that Make-A-Wish only serves kids who have a terminal illness. There's a big distinction between a terminal illness and a life-threatening illness. So when a child needs hope, that anything is possible, and strength to get through what they need to get through, and joy, because it's a very powerful medicine, that's where Make-A-Wish comes in.
You talked about the medicine, and it increases the positive outcomes. It really does help, right? You see that all the time.
It does. We've spoken with Wish kids, with Wish families, with volunteers, with medical professionals, and what we hear overwhelmingly is that a wish can change a medical outcome, and oftentimes does. So the medical community now sees a wish as something that is an integrated part of their treatment program. It's not just something that's nice to have. It's something that if your kid has a life-threatening illness, you need to have this.
Now, Cox Communications helps out with technology, provides computers and for kids who may be homebound and they need some social interaction. How far does that go to help what you guys are doing?
Oh, Cox has been a great partner of Make-A-Wish San Diego for a lot of years. And it's on the mission delivery side there, where your techs will come in and they'll help set up a computer for a kid who wishes for something like that, and really help them get started and be a friend to them. And it goes even beyond that. Cox and their employees host our annual Halloween party. There's a Wishes in Flight telethon throughout the month that is generating miles for Make-A-Wish, and Cox is behind that too. So many of your people support what we do.
How can people get involved? How can they help out? And maybe even if they can't maybe write a check to you guys, but how can they help Make-A-Wish?
Yeah, thank you. There's so many ways that people can help. The obvious one is that people can donate money. But there's a lot of other ways that people do it. Donating your airline miles, for example. If you have miles on US Air or Delta or United, and those miles even about to expire, you can still donate those to Make-A-Wish, and we can turn those into wishes for kids, because 70+% of our wishes involve some type of air travel. So people can help even if they just have some old miles laying around that they can't use. Many people volunteer. A lot of people will donate in-kind support. Come to our events, join us at Walk for Wishes. They can just go to our website at wishsandiego.org, and there's a list of, honestly, dozens of ways that people can, in a meaningful way, contribute to our mission.
How do you choose a wish to grant? There must be a lot of opportunities, but how do you pick the ones you're actually going to follow through on?
In San Diego, if a child has a life-threatening illness and they're referred to us, they get a wish without delay. So there's no waiting list in San Diego. If that child is eligible, if they have a life-threatening condition, we're ready. We're ready for them. And so we start with asking kids some basic questions. If you could go anywhere, where would that be? If you could meet somebody, if you could have something, if you could be something, what does that look like? And so sometimes kids know exactly what they want. Other times you have to really explore the idea. Just recently we granted a wish to a little girl who wanted to be a mermaid. That was magical. So our volunteers are very creative, and they ask a lot of questions. So we don't put ideas in our kids' heads. We ask a lot of questions to figure out what inspires them and what motivates them and what will give them hope, strength, and joy.
What's the timeline from the time you get the call to the time you can actually grant the wish?
Well, every wish is a little bit different, and it depends sometimes on the medical treatment that they're going through and if they wish to travel. Sometimes we have to wait until there's a break in treatment that the doctors work with us very carefully on. But we strive to grant every wish within about 6 months. Some much faster, and some take a little longer. If maybe it's a time-specific wish, they want to go to the World Cup, or they want to go to a Super Bowl, or something like that. Of course, we wait for that date.
Chris, there are things that you won't do, wishes you just can't grant. Tell us about that.
Yes, there's a lot of things that we can do, but there's just a handful of things that we won't do. We won't purchase a motorized vehicle. We won't do real estate transactions, nothing with firearms, and most importantly, you can't ask for extra wishes. But anything short of that, it's really up to that child and their imagination, and our volunteers work very carefully with that family to craft just the perfect experience that will inspire that child.
Thanks so much for being with us, and thanks for making wishes come true for kids and giving them an opportunity to enjoy life a lot more than they may be able to do at that point.
It's our pleasure and our honor. Thank you.
I'm Salvador Rivera, and on behalf of our guests and the employees of Cox Communications, we want to thank all of you for watching Cox San Diego Connection, helping you learn and prosper.